Namaste and hello. I was recently asked about my support of transgenders and that movement, that experience. And I would just like to verbalize this and see if I can help in some way. There is a number of people who are emotionally responsive, reactive is the word, emotionally reactive to the idea of transgenders. And recently on Facebook, I had a conversation, it's still ongoing as a matter of fact, I think, that a woman is upset over the fact that these interlopers, these fraudulent people, are vile for using the words womanhood and usurping on this role that her predecessors have fought so hard for and to get equal rights. So I want to talk on this a little bit. Recently, I've been making a couple of videos about the game of society. And I do see it as a game. And we were all born on this planet as individual entities. Not a single one of us was given the authority by God or nature to be the one who makes up the rules for other people. We were all born literally equal. Every single human came into an awareness of being in a body on this planet, just like every other animal on the planet. Now, it's through the game, the rules, the made-up rules of previous generations, who we don't even know who they are, really, except for a couple of words on paper. These people have created this society, this idea of nations and tribalism and womanhood and manhood. There's a difference between being a man and being a male. And a man is a role. It's a societal role. It has a concept to it. Being a male isn't a concept. It's a biological, it's where things dangle from the body. A male is biological. A female is biological. A woman is a concept. A man is a concept. We have fought wars over concepts of man and woman. But when you get rid of the concepts, when you get rid of the games, the rules, and things like that, I am a male of my species. Luckily for me, the primary driver of my essence, my soul, if you want to put it that way. Let's say that you are a Christian or a Muslim or somebody who believes that there is a God who created us and they inserted into us a soul. And when we die, this soul is going to go to heaven, hell, or purgatory or wherever. Let's assume that that's the case. Well, if my soul has a lot of feminine energy, then when this body died, the soul would appear in heaven as a female. Because the essence of the beingness that resides in this body would be female. So in a world in which one would be able to go and appear as one feels, then if the essence of this body, if the soul of this body felt like, experienced itself as a feminine that was in the incorrect, what dangles was in the wrong spot, then in this location where I can imagine my physical body or my external appearance to others, it would appear as a female. Now I'm blessed in that the essence of who I am matches what dangles and where it dangles. I have a friend who, when I first met him, was a her, a beautiful young woman. I remember thinking at the time that, in a way, that it was unfortunate that I was so much older. Not to mention the fact that she wasn't interested in males at that time. I don't think she is now. She has since transitioned physically into being a male of the species, which means that her essence, his essence, now aligns with the external viewpoint of what dangles. Now, whether that was I'm trying to think of how that works. Whether everything's functional or not, I don't know. It's none of my business. And as you could see, I'm kind of a little bit stuck in the education of my youth, because I do refer to him sometimes as her, because her is how I first met him. It is confusing. It takes a little while for education to come up, to catch up with the reality of what's going on. And this is the main point. Whoever you are, if you feel emotionally for or against the activity of another human being, as far as what their own body, how they experience their own body, whether they get it modified or not, if you have an emotional reaction to that, that has absolutely nothing to do with them. Nothing whatsoever. What it means is that you've bought into the concept that this game that we play, which is called society and civilization, you bought into that education. You believe that the game is the only way to play, because that's what you were taught throughout your life. And you've never questioned the validity of your education. There are creatures on the planet that can impregnate themselves. So does that make them male or female or both? Would you say that they're transgender? Do they even care? I bet nobody else in their species care. Matter of fact, I don't think any species in the world cares except for us, as humans. Since I was born, I came aware of being in a body sometime probably when I was 3 or 4 years old. I don't know. I don't remember that far back. But I imagine that I was saying I back then. So therefore I must have had some concept that there was an awareness in here, an identity that I was trained to believe. I was told who I was and told who I wasn't, just like you were. Same thing. We were born into different situations. We accumulated a different set of data from our teachers and from our family and from television, and especially if you're a young person now. I mean, all the data coming into your head, have you ever correlated that? Gone through it and said, that's real, that's not, that's real, that's not. Because what you would label as real and what's not would change on a year-to-year basis, probably on a minute-to-minute basis if you're paying attention. So I don't have the right to tell someone, hey, no, you're a male and you're a female. Why? Because yours dangles down there and yours dangles up here. No, I have the right to be able to, the mental right to be able to say, you are a biological male. You are a biological female. Why? Because yours dangles down there and yours dangles up here. I can't say whether you're a man or a woman, because those are roles of society that are made up on the spot. Just like it used to be, I believe, that in the Catholic religion, you couldn't eat meat on certain days. Now you can. Used to be that there was a purgatory. It's not there now. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But, you get the drift here. What used to be real is no longer real. Here's one for you. I just recently learned that back in like the Dark Ages, until a child was baptized, the child's parents could have it killed or anything else they wanted to do with it because it wasn't human until it was baptized. It didn't have the rights of a human being until it was baptized. I didn't know that until just recently. That's not the case now in most parts of the country or most parts of the world. From what I understand, it probably is in a few places. But now we think that's wrong, but back then they thought it was right. Who's correct? Now, females, because males are more powerful, more strong, more violent, we control the planet. Which I personally think is kind of stupid because, in my opinion, women are generally smarter than men. Just as an overall. I've never taken a poll of that. Let me rephrase that. Maybe I should say they're wiser than most men because they're more connected. They're more connected to their bodies and nature and things of that nature than the majority of men. Of course, that's also maybe training. Education. I don't know. But what I can say is that if my essence, if that which drove me, which I consider to be me, that I don't consider this body and this face to be me. This is like the car I drive, or in my case, the motorcycle I ride. I am that essence which will, I believe, continue after this body is no longer able to contain me. It will fall apart. It's falling apart already. I used to have very smooth skin on my body. Now I have elephant skin. And it's probably going to get a little more wrinkled before I pass, assuming I have some time left on this planet. But I'm blessed in that my essence matches what dangles. It's only been recently that medical science has advanced enough to allow someone whose essence doesn't match what dangles to rearrange the outside of the form to make things dangle where they want them to dangle. Transgender people who felt their essence was other than what their body showed, have existed throughout time. Historical records indicate that there were people way back in the yonder years who felt that their essence, their soul, did not match the exterior form. But only recently has there been medical advancements that allow someone like that to adapt, to become more comfortable in their skin. Yay! Isn't that cool? Wouldn't you love to be comfortable in your skin? I mean, absolutely comfortable in your skin, where you can look down at your body and say, yep, I like this one. Wouldn't you like that? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? You can get there, by the way. It is possible. And it doesn't mean exercising and all of that stuff. You can get there because whether you like or dislike the form you're in is a matter of what is going on between your ears. And I say that with the acknowledgement that I'm also talking about transgender people whose essence doesn't match the exterior form of their body. Now, we have a problem in that because of the fact that this medical advancement just recently happened, recently in terms of societal, the longevity of society, that we've been around for a long time as human beings, and only in just a few years of that have we been able to modify our exterior, our this form so that it matches. So that means we have thousands of years of education saying that there are only two sexes, two genders. And yet nature says that there's more than that. And people say, oh, well, my female dog doesn't want to be a male dog. How in the hell do you know? They can't tell you. When I was a kid, I went through this period of time in which I liked to wear, I would go snag one of my mom's pantyhose and her slip, and I would wear that. I was taught and trained to do it in private. I got caught a couple of times. Why did I do that? I mean, I was a kid. Well, it felt good. A slip on stockings? Hey, man, that is slick. It feels really great. As an adult, I have dressed up as a woman a couple of times for Halloween. I don't tend to do that. That's not my thing. Not because I think it's wrong, but just because it's just not my thing. I am now so in tune with my body that, well, I feel the blood pumping throughout my body. I'm aware of every aspect of my body at all times now. It's taken years of training for that. But I understand that. I investigated. I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know society didn't like that. I was taught that was wrong. But that wasn't wrong. I was just taught that it was wrong by other people who followed different rules that they made up for their own enjoyment, their own game. This is how I want to live, so therefore, that's how you're going to live. We experiment, we learn. And the reason, by the way, the reason why I brought that part up was because there's an argument about people cultivating dissatisfaction in the body from an early age. No, we call that experimentation. We learn who we are through experimentation. That's what's called being human. Now, education, indoctrination, is when we say, no, you can't be you. You can't investigate who you are. You must be what I think you are. That's what parents do, and that's what teachers, a lot of teachers, especially the old school teachers, who are just parroting what they learn themselves. insist on. They teach us, they indoctrinate us from before we even take our first breath. Now, freedom means free to do with your body what you wish to do with your body. It is your body. It is your life. Now, this person that I mentioned earlier that I was having the conversation with said something about they don't have the right to guilt me. Well, something that stands out to me is, do women have the right to guilt men into recognizing that they're women and acknowledging that they're women? If you think that they do have the right, then the transgender crowd also has the right. If you don't think that they have the right, then how else are they going to get you to acknowledge the fact of their existence? If I wish to be called she and her, and someone doesn't call me she or her, well, that doesn't bother me. I don't really care. Of course, I'm not in that position. But I tell people all the time when they ask me my name, I'll say I'm nobody, but Kai gets my attention. In most places I go, and I'm a full-time nomad, which is what you're seeing behind me, is that I'm presently in my RV. I'm a full-time nomad, and in many of the places that I go, they've known me for years and years, but they know me as the balloon guy because I twist balloon animals and give them away. I think that a human being should be allowed, and this should have been true from the beginning of time. This is why I support transgender or gays or anybody else. I don't really care what you do with your body. I will call you by what you want to be called. You tell me your name is Fred, but you want to be called she? Well, if I can remember to do that, I will. Why? Because you're living your life. My job, I don't have any authority to tell you how to live your life. Words are words. Names are names. It's just labels. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just anything that we call another is kind of like a license tag that the DMV gives you for your car. It has nothing to do with your car. It's not saying what your car is or what color it is or whether it drives well or anything like that. What it is it's a number series of numbers and letters that allows the government's enforcers, aka the police, and the government is just the winners of the game, the rule makers of the game, who change the rules of the game at whim. And then they go around and force everybody else to play their game. And so it's the enforcers or the police. And I'm not against them. I'm stuck in the game, just like you. We're all stuck in the game. Difference may be, I'm not saying it is, but the difference may be is I know it's a game. And I choose to play it in the same way that I choose to play my child's games or my grandkids' games. They make up the rules as they go along, and I play according to their rules as best I can. But I remember that we're playing a game. I try to remind them when they forget that they're playing a game and they start fighting. I try and remind them, hey, wait a minute, this is just a game. Don't take it seriously. It's not that important. Your womanhood, your manhood isn't that important. It's a game. If you know, I have a right hand. I never, ever, ever have felt like I needed to prove that I had a right hand. If someone came up to me and said, hey man, you don't have a right hand, I'd figure they're either blind or crazy. And why? Because I know it's self-evident. Here it is, right hand. I don't care if you believe it or not. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest. You can say whatever you want about me, my right, having the right hand, and I'll just look at you and laugh. I'll be entertained by your indignation if you think develop some sort of about me having the right hand. Now, here's this. This is getting long. I didn't expect it to go this long. I didn't know I had this much to say, but it's a big topic. Here's the suggestion that I have for you. If you have an emotional reaction to somebody being trans or anything like that, that just means that you're ignorant about who they are as an individual. Don't worry about the group. Doesn't matter about the group. Talk to this guy, this girl. Find out who they are. Help them come up with a way to identify themselves, because this is a new phenomenon. It's a new thing. There isn't a language, an acceptable language in which everybody can be comfortable with it. If the rules were already made for it, nobody would be saying a word. But there's no rules. We have to make them up. Why? Because we made up society. Why can't we add another group and say, hey, let's call these people trans? Okay, you're trans. Male trans, female trans. I don't know. I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. We can crowdsource this. And we can come up with an acceptable set of roles in society that the people who presently aren't represented could be represented. Instead of having bathrooms with lots of stalls and putting man and woman on it, we could put a bunch of small rooms. Put bathroom or restroom or water closet or whatever. Have locks on the doors. How many of you send your small children into bathrooms alone? It's very, very rare. And whether you have a male child and you send it into the men's bathroom, well, you know that child could be molested by a guy, right? That happens more than, well, I don't know about more, but it happens. It's a fairly frequent experience. I speak from experience at that, from me being a child. I don't know how often it happens in the woman's bathroom. That's not my bailiwick. But humans are supposed to be intelligent creatures, aren't we? Supposed to be. We bill ourselves as that. Some of us. You mean we can't figure this one out? Let people be who they are. Help new groups. If you belong to a group of any sort, I'm a man, I'm a woman. If you belong, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. If you belong to any kind of a group, then help other groups find their voice. Don't get upset at them. Listen to them. They are experiencing something that you are not. Be curious. What is it that they're experiencing? On an individual basis. Go talk to a couple of them. Not in a, well, you should be this. But go and honestly say. Be curious and say, hey, I don't understand what's going on. And you may not have the words to be able to help me to understand that, but I'd like to give it a shot. I'd like to allow you. I'd like to ask, what is it like? I went up to a guy who was missing his arm. And I said, hey man, what's it like only having one arm? How do you climb on a roof? I don't know. I got 2 arms. Another guy, missing an eyeball. I went up to him. I'm just some random fellow I saw in a store one day, and I said, hey man, I'm curious. Is your depth perception, how do you drive not having that? Because I know that I have to have 2 eyes to be able to get that depth perception. He surprised me. He says, you get used to it. Colorblind people. How do you distinguish the colors? Trans people. How do you experience your body? Anyway, I've gone over 30 minutes and I really didn't expect to go there. So, I'm going to let you do with this as you will. And like, subscribe, as they say. Drop a comment. Drop a question. Drop a question. I am in support of individual freedom. We were all born on a round planet. They had no borders, no ownership of any particular piece of property. Education gave us that crap. It was a game people that I didn't know millennia ago decided to play. And each one of us were indoctrinated into that game from the moment we could draw breath. That's how we got where we are. So I'm in support of individual freedom. Does that mean that I don't think people should own property? Well, I kind of think of more like what I've heard the Native Americans believe. The earth. God owns the earth. Nature owns the earth. We can lease parts of it. But it belongs to all of us. That's the subject of a different talk. So at this point, I'm going to let this go. I hope I helped in some form. If you get something from it, great. If you don't, well, you know where the stop button is.